Luanda, 1622. The Portuguese governor waits, seated. Across from him stands a woman he expects to intimidate. There is only one chair in the room. When no seat is offered, she does not protest. She does not leave. Instead, one of her attendants kneels on the floor. She sits on the attendant's back, maintaining eye level with the governor's eyes. In that moment, Nzinga of Ndongo makes her position clear. She will not negotiate from beneath anyone. Behind this meeting lies a nation collapsing under slave raids, gunfire, and betrayal. The Portuguese Empire wants captives and territory. Her kingdom stands in the way. And she has come not as a queen yet, but as a diplomat who understands that survival will require strategy far sharper than pride. The kingdoms of Ndongo and Matamba sit in what is now Angola. Power here is structured around lineage, ritual authority, and military alliances. Trade routes stretch inland, political influence flows through kinship networks. Then comes Portugal. By the early 1600s, the Portuguese colony of Luanda, founded 1775, has become a major hub in the transatlantic slave trade. Tens of thousands of captives are exported annually to Brazil and America. Warfare is no longer just local rivalry. It is fueled by European firearms and the global demand for enslaved labor. African polities are pressured into supplying captives or facing invasion. Women in Bundu political systems could wield influence, especially royal women, but rule was still dominated by men. Authority required military command, spiritual legitimacy, and control over trade. Nzinga would not just enter this male sphere, she would dominate it. Nzinga was born around 1583 to Ngola Tilwanji, ruler of Ndongo. From childhood, she was not sheltered from power. She learned diplomacy, warcraft, and the language of negotiation. Oral traditions describe her as intellectually sharp, multilingual, and politically observant. Her father fought the Portuguese repeatedly. Ndongo was already under pressure. After his death, her brother Ngola Mbandi took the throne. His reign was unstable and defensive. Portuguese forces advanced. Captives were taken in devastating numbers. Some accounts suggest Nzinga may have been sidelined or even forcibly sterilized under her brother's orders to prevent succession rivalry, a detail debated by historians but reflective of internal political tension. What was clear to her was she understood early that leadership meant survival through calculation, not sentiment. By 1622, Ndongo is crumbling. Portuguese forces allied with mercenaries and rival African factions are attacking settlements and capturing thousands for the slave trade. Her brother sends Nzinga as emissary to Luanda to negotiate peace. At that meeting, the one with the chair, she demands recognition of Ndongo's sovereignty and an end to unjust slave raids. She agrees to convert to Christianity, taking the name Ana de Souza, and secures a temporary treaty. But peace does not hold. After her brother's death, likely 1624, Nzinga claims the throne, contested by rivals backed by the Portuguese. Now she is no longer negotiating. She is fighting for state survival against empire, internal opposition, and a slave trading economy that profits from her people's destruction. In 1624 through 1626, Nzinga declares herself ruler in Ndongo. Portuguese authorities refuse recognition and support a rival claimant. In 1626, facing military setbacks, she withdraws eastward and rebuilds power in Matamba, a neighboring kingdom. This is not defeat, it is repositioning. She aligns with Mbangala warrior bands, feared militarized groups known for brutal initiation rituals and battlefield effectiveness. This alliance strengthens her forces but associates her with violent practices. In the 1630s, Queen Nzinga wages irregular warfare against Portuguese positions and their African allies. She uses shifting alliances, terrain knowledge, and mobility rather than direct confrontation. In 1641, when the Dutch West India Company seizes Luanda from Portugal, Queen Nzinga forms an alliance with the Dutch. Together, they pressure Portuguese strongholds inland. In 1648, Portugal retakes Luanda. Queen Nzinga's position weakens but does not collapse. In 1656 through 1657, after decades of war, Queen Nzinga negotiates peace with Portugal. She secures recognition as ruler of Matamba and some autonomy. Slave trading continues in the region, but under more negotiated terms. She rules until her death in 1663. Nearly 40 years of sustained resistance, in a century where most states fell quickly under European pressure. She does not abolish the slave trade, she survives within it. The emotional toll is harder to document, but decades of warfare, shifting alliances, and constant threat define her reign. Immediately, she preserves Matamba as an independent African polity for decades longer than many contemporaries. She becomes a symbol of Angolan resistance to colonial domination. During Angola's 20th century struggle for independence, nationalist movements revived her image as a figure of defiance. In modern Angola, she is commemorated in monuments and currency. Scholars reassess her not as mythic warrior queen, but as a pragmatic political strategist navigating global capitalism's violent expansion. History has, alternately, romanticized her into legend, demonized her as ruthless, or reduced her to a footnote in colonial narratives. The fuller truth is more complicated and more powerful. Nzinga disrupts simplistic narratives. She was not purely a victim, neither was she purely a hero. She was a head of state managing invasion, patriarchy, and economic coercion. Her story forces modern audiences to confront how African leaders responded to early globalization, how women accessed power within rigid systems, and how resistance often requires compromise. She demonstrates that leadership under siege is rarely clean, and that survival itself can be political resistance.